Did you catch what Caitlin Clark did on social media? In just 1 hour, she managed to follow a hater, unfollow them, and set the internet on fire. But here's where it gets really interesting. This move wasn't just about clapping back. It was a masterclass in handling criticism that every athlete needs to see. And the entire thing started with a tweet. Someone shared a photo of Caitlin Clark next to a political poster in an attempt to link her to a divisive message. And in an instant, the internet went viral. Clark was caught up in a negative wave that she was not responsible for. What's the big deal, one might wonder? There's just one tweet. However, in the realm of social media, a single spark has the power to ignite a massive fire. Critics used the opportunity to charge Clark with inciting hostility within the WNBA. Is it accurate? It is alleged that one of the most exciting players in basketball history is hurting the league that she actively supports. One critic even tweeted, "I detest her and all the negativity she's brought to the WNBA." That seems like a pretty harsh statement to me. They seem to have forgotten all of the incredible times that Clark spent with us while he was on the court. In actuality, though, this kind of backlash is not unprecedented in the world of sports celebrities. But let's analyze this for a moment. What is actually happening here? Is Clark really spreading negativity, or is it just that people, both hateful and loving, are drawn to her because she's receiving so much attention? It's like when you turn on a bright light, everything is more apparent, good and bad. Is it the tweet that linked Clark to that political poster? It was described as pure derangement by some. Furthermore, they are accurate. This is a prime illustration of someone taking something very literally and running with it. But here's where things really start to get interesting. Instead of fleeing the hatred or retaliating, Clark was about to take a completely unexpected step. You see, increased visibility in sports has two sides. On one side, you have the fame, the glory, and the fans. On the other hand, you have to contend with the doubters, the envious, and the constant scrutiny. Every choice you make on and off the court is carefully considered and analyzed. After reading this, anyone would want to withdraw and delete their social media profiles. Not Clark, that is. No, she was going to show us all why she is not just a basketball phenomenon, but also a social media master. When she turned the tables on her haters, everyone would be talking, laughing, and maybe even learning a little something about how to handle criticism online. At this point, you might be wondering, what could she possibly do to shut down all this negativity? Let me just say that Clark's unexpected and astute response stunned everyone. She not only advocated for herself, but she also completely changed the topic. Then, what specifically did Caitlin Clark do? Prepare yourself now, as this will significantly alter the gameplay. Instead of responding to her critics with irate tweets or blocking them, Clark adopted a completely different strategy. She followed one of her harshest critics on Twitter. You did indeed hear correctly. Clark followed a well-known social media critic who had been making fun of her posts. Just picture the response that individual would have received when they learned that Caitlin Clark is now following you. What a change in course. But this is where things start to get really crazy. An internet frenzy was sparked by this action. Clark's decision was hailed and encouraged by her supporters. Her critics, they were utterly unprepared. Some even started deleting their critical tweets, probably because they were afraid Clark would now be following and see them. And after him came the hateful Clark. They lost their minds here. Total collapse is the topic at hand. They went on this crazy rant in an attempt to defend their criticism of Clark, but what's the matter? It backfired spectacularly. Clark, on the other hand, appeared even more amazing after all that screaming. Think about it. By listening to her critics, Clark showed that she was not afraid of them. She was essentially telling me, go ahead, talk more. I'm keeping an eye on things. It's like a boxer dropping their hands in the ring and daring their opponent to punch them. Clark gave off the impression that he had total faith in her skills. It was pretty funny too, to be honest. This move proved that Clark is a very funny man. She didn't say anything, but she made her point. The following one said a great deal. Now you might be thinking that this was just a lucky accident. Maybe Clark hit the follow button by accident. Not in any manner. This was a calculated move by a player who is as astute off the court as she is on it. Remember that Caitlin Clark is the subject of this discussion, the same player who can read a defense and deliver the perfect pass with lightning speed, the player who consistently stays 2 steps ahead of everyone else on the court. Would you anticipate that she would be just as shrewd on social media? You see, an hour or so after she had followed her critic, Clark did something that left everyone stunned. She gave up trying to reach them at that precise moment. Follow, unfollow, boom. It was like a 1-2 surprise punch that nobody saw coming. Now, the internet is really taking off. Everyone was trying to figure out what it meant. Was that Clark sending a message? Was everything a part of a bigger plan? Or was she just making a joke out of the whole thing? You won't believe what Caitlin Clark did next. next, just when everyone thought the drama had ended, she made an unexpected move that stunned the entire internet. Remember how she followed that critic on Twitter? You know what happened in about an hour? She gave up trying to reach them. That is accurate indeed. More quickly than she made a three-pointer, Clark unfollowed someone, and in an instant, the internet caught fire again. It was similar to watching a faultless play unfold in real time, except instead of happening on a basketball court, it was happening in the virtual arena. Perhaps you're thinking, but what's the big deal? People follow and unfollow each other all the time. This wasn't your normal follow and unfollow, though. When Caitlin Clark, one of the most famous basketball players of the moment, started playing a game of social media chess, everyone was trying to keep up. Clark's decision to unfollow that critic set off a chain reaction. Supporters, critics, and even onlookers started making wild conjectures. What did it mean exactly? Was there a mistake? A mistake? Or was it all just a part of a bigger plan? Some fans thought it was hilarious. They felt as though Clark was attempting to convey to them the message, I see you, I hear you, but I'm not going to let you affect me. There were those who saw it as a power play, showing that she could deal with her critics on her terms. On the other hand, detractors were left perplexed. They couldn't tell if Clark was speaking to them or if they were just being trolling. Anyway, it diverted their attention from their earlier arguments and instead had them discussing Clark's social media savvy. You know what's really fascinating? The discourse surrounding Clark was significantly changed by the entire follow-unfollow drama. Remember the initial controversy over the political poster? It was old news by now. Instead, Clark's skillful comeback was the talk of the town. It seems like Clark is taking a cue from the great point guards. Rather than charging headlong, she changed her strategy and left everyone spinning, sensing the defense coming. Instead of using a basketball this time, she just used her Twitter account. But this is where things get interesting. Rather than just deflecting the negativity, Clark turned it into something positive. What could have been a PR catastrophe turned into a fun and engaging platform for her fans. People were sharing memes, making jokes, and praising Clark's sense of humor. Even some of her critics had to admit that was a pretty cunning move. It's not easy to turn the tables on your critics, but Clark made it look easy. She proved that away from the court, she could handle pressure just as well. But maybe we shouldn't be surprised. After all, we are talking about Caitlin Clark, the same player who can read a defense and deliver the perfect pass with lightning speed. Would you anticipate that she would respond to messages on social media with the same urgency and resolve? With what Clark did, it was more than just winning a Twitter battle. It was related to narrating the story in that manner. Instead of letting others define her story for her, she decided to take the initiative and write it herself. She did all of this without saying a single word. That's power. If you have been following Clark on social media lately, you might have noticed something. She has been having a great time interacting with her fans and sharing amusing content as if nothing had happened. She appeared to have pulled off a masterful troll move before idly carrying on with her day. You might be thinking, wait, shouldn't she be addressing all the drama? But that's why Clark's plan works so well. She makes the decision not to think about the negativity, indicating that it doesn't affect her. She's too busy being incredible to be affected negatively by the criticism. Let's look at what Clark has been up to lately. She's been sharing highlights from her games, praising her teammates, and sharing behind-the-scenes pictures from practice. It's the kind of content that her fans love and helps to remind them of why they first became her followers, but this is where things start to get really interesting. There's no deception going on in Clark's life. She's just identifying it in a way that's peculiar to her. Remember how she unfollowed after having followed that critic? In other words, she was saying, I see you, but I'm not going to let you bring me down. This tactic is getting very positive feedback from her supporters. They love how calmly and wittily Clark handled the matter. She is showing that the best course of action is to ignore haters and keep shining rather than getting defensive or lash out. What else are you aware of? It works. The narrative surrounding Clark has undergone a complete transformation. The original controversy has faded from public discourse. They're talking about Clark's method of handling it. They're sharing her latest posts, applauding her on the court, and praising her mannerisms off the court. Not only did Clark silence her critics, she also set an example for the rest of us on how to take criticism in stride and still remain amused. She turned what could have been a PR catastrophe into a masterclass in social media savvy. She appears to have taken a cue from the illustrious Muhammad Ali by acting like a butterfly and acting like a bee on social media. Think about it. The majority of people either choose to ignore online criticism entirely or get into intense arguments with others when they do. However, Clark found a third option. She handled the hate in in a way that was funny, lighthearted, and totally appropriate for her. This isn't just a competition on Twitter, it's related to crafting your own narrative. Clark proved that you are not constrained by other people's viewpoints. You still have the ability to shape your own story even in the face of others who wish to undermine you. So what is the best part? Clark finished all of this without making any reference to the controversy. She let her actions speak for her. Players with that level of confidence make legends. Can I do what Clark did is probably what's on your mind. And the answer is yes, definitely. You may not have millions of fans following you everywhere, but you can still grow from the mistakes made by Clark. The next time someone makes fun of you online, think about how you can respond in a way that truly represents you. Is there a delicate way for you to take it without becoming affected by it? Can you show your critics that what they say does not define you?